Alright guys, so now we're going to be looking at conic sections and we're going to be studying circles first. Conic sections are formed by taking a cone, or in the hyperbola case a double cone, and intersecting it with a plane. So by changing the way the plane is inclined, we get our different conic sections. So if it is parallel with the base here, we get a circle. If we raise it up a little bit, we get an ellipse. If we raise it up even more so that it is parallel with the side of the cone, then we get a parabola. And then if that plane intersects both of the cones, we get a hyperbola. Conic sections can often be seen in nature. One thing you may not know is that the planets actually orbit in an elliptical form, and we previously discussed how if you launch something in the air, it will travel in a parabolic shape. First, we're going to be looking at circles. Now, a circle is defined by being the set of all points that are equidistant away from a fixed point called the center. So all of the points on the circle are the same distance away from the center, and that distance is called our radius. The standard form of an equation of a circle with center hk and distance r from the center can be derived from the distance formula. So if you apply the distance formula to a point hk, the center, and then any point xy on the circle, and you use the distance formula, at the very end, if you square both sides, you get the equation of a circle. Now, if the center hk is just the origin, you get this reduced formula right here. Alright, so I want to write the equation of a circle that has a center 5, -2, and a radius of 8. So recall the formula. It's x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So the big things to remember here are these minuses, and then r is squared. So plugging everything in, we get x minus 5 squared plus y minus -2 squared equals 8 squared. So simplifying that, x minus 5 squared, y plus 2 squared equals 64. So like many functions that we've studied, the standard form has minus signs in it. So when you see this plus sign here, that means I actually plugged in a -2. And always remember that this number here is not the radius, it is the radius squared. So going backwards here, we want to take the equation and extract the center and the radius. So if I see a minus sign here, that means I must have plugged in a positive 16. So my center here is going to be a positive 16, and if I see a -9 here, well, that means at the very beginning I must have did y minus -9, which means my center is at 16 -9, and this guy right here is actually r squared. So 144 equals r squared, so by taking the square root we can get r is 12. So my radius is going to be 12. So the center is 16 -9 and the radius is 12 for this circle. So now we're going to be taking the equation of a circle and graphing it. So from the equation I can get that the center will be at 4. Now there's nothing next to the y here, which means that must be 0. So the y coordinate of the center is 0. Now if r squared is 9, that must mean that my radius is 3. So first we are going to plot the center of our circle, which is 4, 0. Now remember, the definition of a circle is it's all the points that are equidistant away from the center, and their distance here is 3. So I'm going to go in each vertical and horizontal direction to get 4 points that I know for sure are on my circle. Now, to the best of your ability, try to draw a circle through those points. As we study the different conic sections, you'll see that they can all be written in a general form where the x's and the y's are broken apart from the parentheses, and they are all written on one hand side of the equation. And in order to find the center of those conic sections, we have to group the x's, group the y's, and then complete the square. Now remember, we have to have the center of these conic sections because that's how we graph. We use the symmetry of these conic sections to graph. So here I'm going to group all of the x's together and group all the y's together. And then I have my lonely 8 over here. Now, if you recall how to complete the square, we are going to have to use that skill in order to write this in standard form. Because remember, standard form is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So we want to rewrite it so it looks like that so I can see my center and radius. So in order to complete the square, you take my b term and you divide it by 2, and that gives us our term that goes in the parentheses. Now since this is a plus, this guy will be a plus. Now what I'm actually adding here is a 16, because you take this term and you square it and you add it to complete the square. Now since I added a 16 there, I must add a 16 to the other side of the equation. Remember, we got to keep it balanced. Now for our y term, we take our b, which is negative 10. We divide it by 2 when we get negative 5. So we're going to do y minus 5. Remember, if this is a minus, the minus is here. And technically, this is going to be a negative 5, and we're going to square that and add that to each side. So I must add the 25 to the other side. So this is going to be equal to 49. So now I can easily see that my center will be at negative 4, positive 5, and my radius will be at 7. Alright, so now I'll give these two examples a try. Using the equation of a circle, I want you to graph this circle.